Hello world, it is Wednesday, March 15th, 2022, and looking out the window at Defiance, it's a bright sunny day. I had to close my blinds a little bit so it would not, the sun wouldn't interfere with my camera, but it is a beautiful sunny day. It's cold this morning, but I think it's going to get into the mid 40s, and then the next couple of days it might actually be in the mid 50s before Saturday getting cold and windy again. I think I saw high in the mid to upper 20s on Saturday. So a little up and down for March. The devotion for today is entitled Investigation Incomplete, and it's written by Kenneth L. Samuel. And Kenneth bases the devotion upon Numbers chapter 13, verses 17 through 18, New International Version. When Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, "See what the land is like, and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many." And Kenneth writes, after some 40 years of wandering through the Sinai desert, the Israelites finally arrived in Canaan, the land they believed God promised them. But before the Israelites took possession of their promise, they thought it prudent to investigate the land of Canaan and the people living there. So Moses, the Israelite leader, sent spies into Canaan on an intel mission. The spies were to bring back a detailed report on the quality of the land and its produce. In addition, the spies were to bring back an assessment of the Canaanites. How did they live? Were their cities structured and fortified? Were they a strong or weak people? But the instructions Moses gave to the spies overlooked something very critical. A true assessment of who people are cannot be fully derived by observing their numbers or their infrastructure or their military or their environment. A full assessment of any people or person must involve an understanding of their values, both personal and communal. Aside from people's everyday existence, for what causes ideals are they willing to serve and sacrifice? And how are those causes, ideals, reflected in the ethos or guiding principles of the people? Beyond what people possess, incomplete assessments of who people are leads us into battles that we are not prepared to fight and into confrontations that could have been avoided. And beyond the knowledge of how people live, an investigation of what people live for requires much more than empirical observation from a distance. It requires honest, person-to-person communication. And the prayer. Lord, for the good of all people, help us to get past social observation to real interpersonal communication. Amen. Well, a couple things went through my mind as I was reading this. One was, of course, thinking of the horrible war in the Ukraine. And I don't really think this devotion has anything to say to that, because I'm not sure Putin or the Russians would have engaged in conversation with Ukraine, because it wasn't about building relationships. Anyway, but that's where my mind went first. And then as I read through it, I started thinking more and more about, instead of the literal battle and war, the metaphorical one in which we are constantly seem to be engaged with in this society, where there's so much divisiveness, so much misinformation. People aren't truly communicating and getting to know one another. And when you really truly take the time to stop and get to know someone, it really has an effect on you, and it has an effect on them, because you can develop empathy and sympathy and understanding. Even if you don't agree on everything, you see them as a fellow human being, and that changes the world. So it's really getting to know someone. It also kind of reminded me of, I know people who have come out to friends and family as being gay or lesbian or bi or whatever, and the person really hasn't changed at all. They've just been honest with the people around them about who they are. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, friends and family who may have been anti-LGBTQIA+, once they realize that someone they love, or once they get to know someone, it changes the conversation, it changes their opinion of them. And that also reminds me of something that is happening in Fort Wayne that Defiance College brought to Defiance here, and they hope to bring it again, and that's the Human Library Project, which is really finding human books, people who have experiences that may be different than yours, experiences that or lives that may make you feel uncomfortable because you know nothing about it. Well, that's the hidden part. You're uncomfortable because you know nothing about it. And then you can check out one of these human books for a half an hour and have a conversation with the person and get to know them. And it breaks down barriers and builds a bigger table. And then I can't wait till Defiance College brings it back again, because it is something that's really deeply needed here in Defiance. So get to know people. It may change your mind, may change your heart, may change you. Hope you have a good day, and hope to talk to you again tomorrow.